Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Today, we will finish out the great trilogy of the Senate gubernatorial and House predictions by doing the House prediction. Now, based on fundamentals, meaning that, in a midterm, you'd expect the president's party to lose a few seats, and the fact that the House currently, as of now, stands at 220 to 215, assuming that all special elections break the way that they previously did, which for one in Arizona, which we will be covering next week on Tuesday, the primary of, and one in Tennessee, of which the primary is unscheduled and the general will be held November 4th. There is some question, but I'd still say both incumbent parties or previous incumbent parties shaded here on the map right now are favored to win either special election. But assuming that those break the way that they did in the 2024 House elections, House control will remain at 220 to 215. Now, what this means for Democrats is you need a net gain of 3 seats. This is, if I'm not mistaken, the narrowest that the House has been going into a midterm. And you know, people would have killed for something like that in previous midterms. The House was something like 240 Democrat heading into 2010, about the opposite heading into 2018. And even with Republicans underperforming by quite a bit in 2022, they still managed to get 9 seats as a net gain. Now, you would think that this race is over, or these races are over. Like, no matter how much or how little it is that Democrats win the House by, they will win the House. But due to some exceptionally poor candidates in New York, I'm talking Zoran Mamdani for the mayoral race, which puts quite a few seats in jeopardy for Democrats. Their general lack of funding turned to extremism over the past few months, and the fact that the GOP is playing hardball, redistricting seats in Ohio and now potentially Texas. And from what I've seen about Texas, it's going to be quite exceptionally brutal. The GOP is looking for about a net gain of 5 in Texas. To put that in perspective, that would most likely mean you axe the 28th and 34th districts in the Rio Grande Valley. Both voted for Trump, both voted for Democratic incumbents by quite a bit. That also would mean that you axe the 35th between San Antonio and Austin. You get rid of one district in the Houston metropolitan area, and then one district in the Dallas Fort Worth area, or 2 in Houston, none in Dallas Fort Worth. Um, or even you could try to get Texas 16th by drawing it like a panhandle and sending it to North Texas. I wouldn't recommend that, but it does look like, due to stuff like that, due to stuff like Trump's approval is relatively good and holding steady. You can think of it kind of as, tracking against Biden's approval this time 2021, or Obama's approval this time 2009. But Trump has already served 4 years. Like, he headed into 2024 being extremely polarizing. He still is polarizing. So when you see his approval about -4, reminder, Democrats got within 2%. Had the national popular vote shifted about 2% more Democrat, they would have held the House. They got within about 2%, with Biden's approval being -20. And Republicans were not as outspent as Democrats seemingly are looking to be um, in these 2026 House elections. So at this point, I really do think House control is in question. Um, I think that, what I'm going to determine in this video, depending on if the results are how I expect, because I don't script these things. I'm not like, oh, yes, well, um, I've already had it determined that every one of these seats will go one way. Like, no, you can even see in my videos I'm thinking about them, because a lot of them are tough calls. E.g., California's 13th. This was the closest seat in 2024. Now Republicans have a much stronger nominee. But Adam Gray, potentially, when he's not running against an incumbent, could be a very strong candidate. He is a moderate Democrat with a lot of local appeal, but you also have a Republican running against him. A seat like that is complicated. A seat like Iowa's third. Zach Nunn won by about 3 points. And he's a strong candidate. The Democrats did invest here a lot. Um, And it doesn't look like Republicans will shit the bed on Iowa at large too much, which is why it's considered about a lean arm race. But you also have to think, like, people think Marionette Miller Meeks is dead on arrival. That's like a 4 point shift to what they think. Why can't you apply that to Iowa's third? Um, Especially since the midterm should hurt Republicans there. You have to do stuff like that. And whatever determination I make in this video, it's not the end all be all. If I say Democrats will win the House by 3 seats, that's not guaranteed. I'm betting my life on it, my entire personal fortune, that every one of my district calls will be correct. Uh, I'm not doing that. Um, there's margin of error here, and based on how close House control is looking as of now, compared to something like 2018, where you could say definitively Democrats are probably the favorites here, or 2022, where you could say Republicans are probably the favorites here. It is looking hard to call it. I preface this video with that because, looking at the data, in basically none of my other predictions has there been a serious chance of Republicans having House control. And I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously, I haven't even determined these races for myself. There's 435 blanks on the map. But potentially it's anyone's game. So if you come here thinking, yes, yes, he will say that Democrats will win the House by 20 seats, which will make me feel less bad about Kamala Harris losing in a landslide, Senate Democrats losing in a landslide, House Democrats also losing. I'm sorry. That's just not what I'm going to do. Um, but yeah, I also have this page pulled up, not because, I care about what they have to say about Delaware, you know, or any of these races. I pay $35 a month for a Cook Political Report. I'm kidding about that. But I have it because of this, because we have some mid-decade redistricting changes. I've kind of gone back and forth on whether I should include these, but seeing as stuff like Ohio and Texas is virtually confirmed, um, and will affect House control, I think we're gonna put it into play. So Florida, the Florida Supreme Court most likely won't rule against the map, so we're just gonna pretend that doesn't exist. Here, this is retarded. What Democrats are doing. Um, Republicans obeyed the law and added the majority black district. That's why you had Georgia redistricted, because previously, if I'm not mistaken, it was Georgia 6 was not majority black, it was made to be majority black. But Democrats said, wait, no, no, you have to add a new majority black district while also giving us a Democrat district, which, like, the point of these racial lawsuits are that they're not supposed to be involved politically. And I just think there's no legal case for the Georgia map being overturned, so we're going to ignore that. Ohio is mandated to redistrict. Um, because no Democrats backed the Republican proposal, which ironically is going to screw Democrats over. Now, I could go hardball. I'll come to it when we get to it. We'll cover it, but I could go hardball and say Republicans will take out 3 Democrat seats. I really don't see that. I think Republicans will target the ninth. Pretty easy to draw out captor. I've done that myself. And then I think they'll also go after the 13th. I'll go more into the specifics of that when we get to Ohio. Texas, I didn't think this was going to happen. But it does look like Greg Abbott is actually trying to redistrict the state. July 21st, the special session um, of the legislative bodies will include a congressional map reexamination. I don't know how hard they'll go. I don't know about 5 to 6 more Republican seats. And if that's 5 to 6 more Republican seats on the presidential level, we're gonna see something brutal. But I think Republicans can potentially do 4 or 5. Like I said, very easy to draw out the incumbents on the southern border. Um, Cuellar, he's a strong candidate, but you can draw him into these suburbs around San Antonio. He really doesn't overperform there. He'll be dead on arrival, and plus he might even retire. Then the 34th district over here. This was originally a Democrat pack. They voted for Biden by quite a bit, but these areas shifted so Republican. They ended up voting for Trump in 2024, and they don't have the strongest Democratic incumbent there. So I think you can pretty easily redistrict that. There's also here Sylvia Garcia. This is a very right trending Hispanic district. Garcia is a pretty strong incumbent, but as long as you draw it out a little bit outside of Houston and a little bit outside of Harris County, kind of leaning into these Dan Crenshaw, Brian Babin areas. Out of the second and 36th district, you can make that a Republican seat. Here, just don't draw the Snake District going from San Antonio to Austin. Like, just divide up these areas between the surrounding districts. They'll be a little bit iffy in like a massive blue wave, but you should be fine. And then I really don't think that they touch any other seats. So I'm going to assume that, 1, 2 incumbents are drawn out, and then 3, 4 are made somewhat harder to win. We also have a Utah case. This is looking. It's almost guaranteed that Democrats get another seat, um, because there was this proposition. Um, Retarded that Republicans ended up voting for this. I'm glad that they were able to mount somewhat of a challenge, but it's really screwed over Republicans now. But they have to draw a Democrat district in Salt Lake City. Um, so it's pretty much guaranteed that Utah would redistrict. And then as for Arkansas, this was a retarded case. Arkansas's districts are fine. And Wisconsin, this was hilarious. But the Wisconsin Supreme Court has decided again not to redistrict. Um, Fell for it again award, but yeah, this is just it's hilarious. But Wisconsin will be keeping their old congressional map. And bye bye to Wikipedia, because me, big smart. I don't need Wikipedia. Oh my God, we're 11 minutes in. This is the high quality that you got on the Testers on channel. But anyways, um, let's get into it. So Washington, actually, no, what? No, no. We'll start in the Northeast this time. Um, and some of these seats kind of obvious who they're going to go to. Um, yeah, I'm even gonna say over here that Johanna Hayes will probably win re-election. Ned Lamont's a popular governor; he should win by quite a bit. And it looks like Republicans are slowly falling off here. This district was within about a point in 2022, and for some reason, Johanna Hayes just gained electoral favorability out of nowhere. But yeah, I don't think that this district is competitive. I'm gonna have it as safe Democrat, even though it is slightly right trending. These are the only three competitive, and by competitive I mean under 10 districts in New England. The first one, New Hampshire second. This is Maggie Goodlander's district. She won by 6. I think she should win by more than that now as an incumbent. It's right trending. It's actually the more right trending district in New Hampshire. Actually, I have to go here. But like, if you look at the trends here, the trends towards Republicans are in the sixth or in the second district towards the west and not towards the east. So potentially, if you see those trends continue, and if you see Kelly Ayotte put up a good fight um, on the gubernatorial level and drag Republicans over the finish line down ballot, or even Scott Brown get kind of close to winning, you could see that district narrow up. But for now, I'm going to say that it remains in Democrat hands. Same thing with Chris Pappas's district. This one is narrower. On the presidential level. Democrats have an open race here, but I think they'll be able to recruit someone fine. And win it by like 5 to 6. It is less right trending than the second district. And Republicans just don't have the best slate of candidates here. Really, anyone who would have been good, Chris Sununu, Scott Brown, has either not gone for this race or has decided to go for the Senate race. But speaking of governors running for House seats, as weird as it might sound, Charlie Crist did it. We have Maine second, where Paul LePage has decided to challenge Jared Golden for Maine second. Now you might think, okay, Paul LePage, horrible underperformer. Maine second, Jared Golden was somehow. I still don't understand, or I understand it because Trump underperformed Maine, but somehow was still able to hold on here over Austin Theriault. Even though Theriault was a pretty good candidate. But Paul LePage has been ahead in some polls, and I think that Paul LePage, as opposed to someone like Theriault, he's much more appealing than Paul LePage, but he's not as divisive, and he allows Golden to overperform. I think that Paul LePage is incredibly divisive. You either love the guy, you hate the guy. And the fact that he won this district narrowly, you might think he's going against an overperformer. This could end badly, but I think even though it's going to be a less than poll show, I do think that Paul LePage is going to be able to pull it off just because he's that divisive, he's that polarizing. He'll stop Golden from overperforming too much, and because of that, he'll end up narrowly beating Golden out of Maine second, which is the first time Republicans have won a seat in New England in 10 years. Big news. But yeah, we head over to New York. Obviously, you've got some safe Republican seats here. I'd say both Long Island seats. Now, you might think that's it for Republican seats. Lawler potentially will be retiring to run for governor. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be Stefanik. So I think that as for let me fill in the safe Democrat seats first. Um, Over here, New York will probably actually be Democrats' worst state. I think that Grace Meng ends up winning. She's from. Got to zoom in for this one. She's from this tiny district. It's about Harris plus six. Very Asian. She's Asian. You can tell by the last name Meng. She overperforms a lot there. Even though I do think that potentially Kathy, or more likely than not, Kathy Oak will lose the district. I still think that Meng will hold on there, securing re-election. Though you could see that margin go as low as something like only 15 points, which sounds like it's a lopsided win, but for a district that was Biden plus 30, really isn't. Um, but yeah, that's probably it for safe Democrat. Um, Likely Republican. I'm gonna say that Lawler wins by about the same margin as here. I think he'll probably go up against a more competent opponent. Looks like Sean Patrick Maloney potentially. Um, Otherwise, it'd be some other local buffoon. But Mondare Jones was a uniquely bad candidate. You also probably will have Stefanik, even if she does end up losing, having more draw at the top of the ticket, especially upstate compared to Trump. I think that Trump narrowly lost this, or I don't think that that's a fact. But I think that even though Trump narrowly lost this district, Stefanik, even if she's going to go down statewide, is going to win it. And I think Lawler will be able to overperform her and win by like 6 to 7. Um, that is it for the likely Republican. Likely Democrat, Mannion probably wins by like 8 or so. I definitely think you'll see Stefanik, who's right next to her district, have more appeal upstate. Um, but Brandon Williams wasn't the strong candidate. Still an incumbent. Mannion was able to beat him by like 9. I think Mannion should be fine and shouldn't have too much to worry about. As for leaning one way or another, this is going to make people mad. I think Swazi is dead on arrival. I think that you're going to see Zoran run the city into the ground. Um, Already, like in New York City as a whole. Reminder: this voted for Kamala Harris by 40 points. His favorability is +5. Um, I think that you're going to see the city trends accelerate a lot under him. Trump ended up winning this district by like 4 or so. And it's made of Suffolk County. Okay, that didn't shift that much. And the portion in New York's third didn't shift that much. Nassau County, oh, well, at least Queens isn't shifting that much. At least Swazi can hold on there. Oh, wait, a 21-point shift. He's dead on arrival. Republicans ran a no name in 2024 for it. It wasn't even considered competitive. And Swazi still won by less than 4. You're going to see, especially the Queens and Nassau portion, shift right off a cliff. He's done. He's not winning. Bye bye. Bye bye. But yeah, especially since he's going to be in open war with the progressive base in the district. So he's like, either has to go full anti Zoran, full anti Democratic Tea Party, and then shoot himself in the foot with progressives, and still have to deal with the stench of Zoran, making the entirety of the New York Democratic Party unappealing to the average independent voter. Or he has to, accept Zoran into the fold and lose every moderate suburbanite in the entirety of Nassau County. This also, I think, drags down Gillen. I know I'm moving away from the lean um, margin thing, but I think Gillen is going for the lean margins first. I think Gillen is a very, very underrated candidate. Um, I think she's just as strong as Swazi, even though she was just elected in 2024. I think she's got the exact same branding, if not even better on stuff like the border. Um, she hasn't voted as a bipartisan, but like Swazi hasn't either, and he still pretends to be bipartisan. I just think that this is a right trending area of Nassau County. As much as, Gillen will appeal to some moderates, Stefanik's probably going to win this district. It's not going to be particularly close. Um, you're going to see in these midterms, it's a little bit more Republican leaning on Long Island because the highly educated base is a little bit more Republican leaning compared to minorities. Um, but because of that, because of Zoran, I think you will see Republicans flip the fourth district. Um, Now, it's not all doom and gloom for Democrats. I do think that they end up winning the 19th district. I think that to some extent, Stefanik should have some appeal here. It's just one, you really don't have a bench here. Two, Josh Riley also is a very strong candidate. In lieu of someone like Pat Ryan. Um, and three, I just don't think it's insulated somewhat from the New York trends. Like one, it voted for Kamala Harris, and two, like the city is the part suffering under Democratic rule, but also the city is the part trending Republican. Like a snake district that snakes away from Albany, which is the only part trending Republican, then goes all the way to Tompkins County. Like it's not the best for Republicans. I don't think they'll be able to pull it off. Though I do think Pat Ryan, he's a bit of a paper tiger. He ran against Esposito. Nothing really particularly great about her. Um, like Pat Ryan's moderate, and I do think he'll overperform. I think that probably you'll see Stefanik win this district. But as long as Republicans recruit someone who's actually from the district instead of Esposito, um, I think that they have a good shot at making this district close. In fact, it was like 2 points, 3 points maybe for Kamala Harris. It's definitely a district to watch. So that is it for New York, and Republicans emerge with three more seats from the Northeast, and potentially a fourth or fifth, depending on how the night goes. Already not the best indication for Democrats. Then we got New Jersey. I think that you probably see um, these district go safe. I think that Gottheimer's district is trending Republican. So even though I think he's a massive overperformer, um, he won by like, if I'm not mistaken, 12 or so. Yeah. I think that'll narrowly be under 10. And then I think Nellie Powell also could be screwed. She is not voting as a moderate. This district flew completely under the radar. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, New Jersey. New Jersey's ninth. It was not considered competitive whatsoever. It voted for Trump. Um, it's probably one of the most right trending districts in New Jersey as a whole. I think it's going to be close. I don't think Republicans win it, but I do think very, very close district, especially since the fallout from New York. I love how I'm acting as if the city got nuked. Honestly, would be better for the city. But the fallout from New York City probably hurts her, but not enough to doom her reelection. Tom Keene wins, obviously, and then we move on to Pennsylvania. Shapiro doesn't really look like he'll have a strong challenger. I still don't think he'll do great. Um, in the gubernatorial election. I think he'll win, but he's not going to win by like 20, as some people say. And I do think Republicans down ballot will overperform him, um, which leads us to these races. So District 17, I think, is gone for Republicans. Very left trending. Because if you actually look into the district, then not just like, oh my God, working class areas around Pittsburgh. It's all suburbs. Got a tiny bit of Beaver, but it's all suburbs. It's a Romney, Clinton, Harris district. Like you're just cooked there as a Republican. So honestly, you might have a better chance at taking down Summer Lee. I'm not even joking when I say that. But over Scott Perry, I think Scott Perry is dead on arrival. He is going down with the ship out of Pennsylvania's 10th. Um, the problem is it's not a right trending district; it's a left trending district. You have Dauphin County, home of Harrisburg, if I'm not mistaken, Cumberland County, left trending, and the portion of York County that really isn't that right trending, all in one district. It's not a district that someone like a Freedom Caucus member can win. And I think Shapiro's probably going to win the district quite easily. Um, I think that Scott Perry might be screwed. Um, Heading for re-election, though. Once again, besides for some bullshit polls, um, that had Janelle Stelson up, there is no way to anticipate this ahead of time. Like based on what we saw in 2022, where Perry won by like 7, it seemed like he was a pretty strong candidate. This was another race that flew under the radar until like 2 weeks before the election. So who knows? Maybe Scott Perry can surprise us, though I don't think so since Stelson is running again. Bye. Rip the Scott Perry. He was great while he held elected office. Ryan McKenzie, I think, narrowly loses re-election. I think he's an okay fit. Probably a much better candidate than Robert Buchanan or Brezhnev, who somehow is putting a what like Trump plus 10 seat or so in jeopardy in the midterms. I'm not even kidding. That race is like tilt Republican as of now, just because he's completely corrupt. Um, it's an area that Shapiro is going to overperform a lot with, and an area where Republicans do not do good in off years. If Brashanin is a one-term congressman, going to break my mind. But I think as of now, one of these two to fall will be McKenzie. Democrats have an okay challenger. The county executive, I think, of Northampton County, a Democrat. He skirted by in his 2017 and 2021 elections, but I think he'll be strong enough to flip the seat back for Democrats. And then District 1, Fitzpatrick could be retiring. I'm not going to bet on it, but I think it's definitely a possibility. Um, Democrats seem somewhat determined to challenge him this time around. He could always fall in a primary. He got like 60% last time, so I'm going to put it as lean Republican as of now, subject to change. Maryland, all these seats are predetermined. Um, Virginia, we have some interesting seats, kind of. The first one out of Virginia would be Virginia's first. Whitman's an overperformer. This district is trending left, yada, 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 about R plus 7. And Jen Kiggins, she's not the best candidate. She underperformed expectations in 2024. But, like, when people are like, oh, yeah, she'll lose because of the mass firings, like, this is not. People make it sound like, oh, yes, all the federal workers, they go to DC every day and they live in Virginia Beach. Like, no. It's still going to be impacted by Virginia not necessarily trending Republican, but I think she's strong enough, and Democrats really don't have enough of a bench here that it'll be close. She could still lose. I might be getting a little bit cocky here, and I should probably err on the side of caution. But I'm going to say, as of now, she narrowly wins re-election. Then 1-2 safe, 1-2 likely. They were pretty close in 2024, but I don't think Republicans will do as well on either seat heading into 2026. Then we got quite a few safe Republican seats here. Um, Barr's district could be competitive if the wave starts to get bigger and bluer. Um, but I don't think so. It's like a Trumpless 12 district or so, if I'm not mistaken, a much, much more Republican down ballot. Um, yeah, a lot of these seats are safe. I guess if a Democrat's elected in the special election for Tennessee 7th is not safe Republican, it's likely, even though I think that Democrat loses re-election. But like, okay, it could be competitive there. Fill it out on your bingo card and celebrate. Oh my God, he said that the special election could be competitive. Oh my God, Democrats can have another likely Republican seat. Wow, 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 wow. Like, congrats. Yeah, North Carolina, I think you'll be likely. I think the rest should be safe. And we actually have an interesting development out of North Carolina's first. Now, one, Roy Cooper's rumored to run for Senate. I'd say like 80% chance as of now, which is sad because I wanted to be right about Wiley Nickel winning no matter what. Um, that's where I let my ego come before my political aspirations because, at some point, what I say isn't going to change these races. People think that, oh my God, I'm gonna jinx it. Like, no, I'm not. But we've heard if Roy Cooper doesn't run, Don Davis will be running for Senate potentially, or at least he'll fuck off from the House seat and go chase his fever dream of running for Senate. Um, if that happens, you have a very strong Republican nominee against him. Sandy Robertson, I think, is his name, mayor of like a very kind of black, very Democrat city, a Republican. I think he's got a good chance, potentially. Um, if we head to North Carolina, and if we head to North Carolina's first, he's from Nash County, Nash, and then like the county right next to it, barely on the district's border. But like here, I think this was mostly Lori Buckhout being a terrible candidate. Um, they say Trump endorsed. Trump did not endorse her before the primary. She was running against Sandy Smith, who, even though Sandy Smith is a little bit of a crazy woman, she's a crazy woman in as much as like she's crazy appealing to Trump voters in a way that Lori Buckout was not. I think that Don Davis could potentially lose re-election either way. I don't know if I would assign a favorite if we knew he was 100% guaranteed to run for re-election. Actually, no, I would. It would be Republicans because you'll see black turnout go down, but it would still be close. But seeing as he could potentially retire, also, I think that this seat is probably narrowly tilt Republican. Um, which means Republicans get 53 seats, which means it's only a net gain from here. Um, that's a joke. Then South Carolina, all these should be saved. The South Carolina redistricting case is dead. Georgia as well. The Georgia redistricting case is dead. One seat to watch if you want to be a nerd, and oh woo, an 8 point win for Republicans out of Georgia's first because Buddy Carter was a significant overperformer and he's retiring now to run for Senate. He's a good nominee. I think John King is better. But that seat could be a little bit closer because it is somewhat suburban and really only has rural areas in the southwestern portion of it. Could be a little bit closer, won't be too much closer than under 10. Even now, I don't think it's under 10. But yeah, Florida, I will get back to the Rust Belt. We, like always, we're just pretending they don't exist. But Florida, none of these should be too competitive. I think Corey Mills will be a little bit closer because he's pretty scandal plagued. Um, and then we got the seats. The Democrats, for some reason, are targeting the Miami-Dade Republican seats. Not a good idea. You have seats to defend in Florida. I think Anna Paulina Luna's seat will also be likely. Um, it's not ever that close, but it was a little bit close this time around. Let me actually see. I think it was under 10. Um, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the 13th was, yeah, very slightly under 10. I think you'll see a similar margin, maybe like 2 points less for her. Um, maybe even 2 points more. Florida Republicans seem to do good in midterms. But then here you'll have likely, lean, likely, safe. It's kind of the default Florida ranking, assuming that the uber right trending areas of Florida shift slightly more Republican. Um, and even Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Republicans did not try there. That's about holding the margin. From 2024. Then Alabama, I'm going to consider that one safe just because it's got a relatively strong Democrat incumbent. Mississippi as well. Now we move to the Rust Belt, where we have our first case of redistricting, Ohio. So Ohio, like I said, um, if the Ohio GOP is watching, this is more so you can understand what happens. So when it happens, I can claim I'm right. This is how you redistrict Ohio. Now, out of the 13th district, it's kind of easy. You do not need the entirety of Summit County here. It is a blue-leaning county, and a county more blue down ballot. We have this is the city of Akron itself cannot be split. In Ohio, no city with under a congressional district's worth of people can be split. That's why Columbus can be split. Columbus has more than a congressional district's worth of people in it. Cleveland does not. That's why it's not split. Akron does not. So you can't split Akron, but you can split counties. What I'm saying is you have some Republican leaning areas around Akron in this county. They are not efficient. This is something about efficiency. Stark County, you go to the southern portion in District 6, like, this is very efficient. Like, for every precinct you swap out in the north of Akron County, which is maybe like 55-45 Republican, you're getting 2-1 Republican here. You're getting more bang for your buck. It's like going to the store, um, you have $10, like, are you gonna buy uh, you're going to buy the deal. You're going to buy the one that gets you more. Um, and even though you're giving up Republican areas, you're trading that for more Republican areas. And like, if you give those Republican areas to the 14th or the 7th, they'll be fine. They're safe Republican districts. So I think it's pretty easy to draw the 13th and the 9th. You do the exact same strategy. 1, 2, 3, 4 do not need to be in this district. You know, district right south of it, the 5th, just trade these areas with it for these areas. The 5th will narrow up a little bit. Oh my god, Bob Blotta might only win by 30 instead of 40. But you'll guarantee that captor, like, she'll have to win Toledo, since it's the only Democrat area of the district, by like 40. she's not going to win it by 40. So both of those relatively easy, but it does involve likely. Um, I think it'll be close in Akron. I don't know if they'll employ, Tester's Dunn's genius strategy to winning the House. I think they'll make it kind of close, but I think she'll end up losing by about two. And then Captor, I think, will lose. Um, it also does look like potentially you could have Mike Turner retire. Um, I'm going to lean towards no on that one, though. Potentially, you could see him retire. And then Mike Carey, I think that district narrowly slips under 10. And then the rest of these safe. They probably just free, poor Warren County dragged into the affairs of Cincinnati. They probably just free it, since like it's a R plus 30 county that's forced to be represented by a Democrat because this gerrymander backfired on Republicans. Probably just make Cincinnati a pack since you can't split the city of Cincinnati. See, thought goes into these things. It's interesting. This is, what I care about more than, oh my god, I can analyze the trends and beat you at this map shit. Michigan here, um, not too much competitive. That one certainly isn't safe Republican. Not too much competitive. Um, I do think, though, you could potentially see Bill Huzianga retire. Even if he doesn't, I think it'll be narrowly likely. Um, or Kristen McDonald probably doesn't retire. I think he'll get someone better than Jung. I think it'll be a high lean margin, 4-5. Barrett, I think, will hold on, albeit narrowly. And I think Republicans will win the 10th, especially with James probably winning the district by 5-6, at least on the gubernatorial level. So yeah, status quo in Michigan, status quo in Indiana. Yeah, I think Mervin wins but probably by a safe margin. Illinois, you could potentially see some of these seats narrow up, um, especially if Cook County shifts Republican. Um, for now, I'm gonna I'll say that one is likely, um, and even two is likely. Um, though the 14th, I will say, is safe. More suburban, probably gonna be a little bit less Republican trending heading into the future. 1, 2, 3, safe Republican. 1, 2, safe Democrat. Wisconsin, without redistricting, this gets a lot better for Republicans. Brian Steele holds on. Um, Probably holds on by quite a bit. I'm actually going to put this as likely. 1, 2, safe Democrat. And then this is a really hard one out of Wisconsin. Um, I think Van Orden's not a good candidate, but this is a right trending area. I will say Rebecca Cook running again could hurt her, but I still think she's strong enough to do better. These three Democrat strongholds in the district, even if Portage County not going to run it up by too much. I don't think Derek Van Orden will do well enough in the rest of the district to win. I think as of now, he's narrowly favored to lose re-election. Um, so here we go, Republicans netting seats from the East Coast, which might be a first. Um, since they've made some gains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think that's I don't know. It's close. The East Coast is close. House control is close as of now. Louisiana, we've heard really nothing on redistricting. I'm just going to assume that they don't redistrict as of now. Supreme Court case awaiting on that one. But I only like to do redistricting if it's confirmed. I'm already helping out Republicans enough by doing the Texas redistricting for them. Arkansas, all of these are safe. Same thing with Oklahoma. Missouri, all of these are safe, except Wagner's district could narrow up a little bit. Um, Trump plus 8, if I'm not mistaken, out of Missouri, but Wagner is a pretty strong performer, especially in suburbia. Um, I think she should do just fine. Probably the St. Louis County portion of the district narrows a little bit, but Democrats have to win this by like 10 to win district wide. They won't. So I think that Wagner ends up winning by about 8 to 9 at the end of the day. Iowa, Democrats pick off Marionette Miller Meeks. I don't think anyone disagrees with that one. Cough, cough, radio politics. And then Iowa's third. I hinted towards this at the beginning of the video. I'm going to break with the consensus here. Um, Zach Nunn, potentially even running for governor, I'd recommend he does that because here it's a R+3, R+4 seat. You're depending a lot on these rural areas turning out. And otherwise, it's, oh, how good can you do in suburban Iowa? It really was never made to be the most solid Republican district. It's still impressive how it's not the closest district. This was the only district that Democrats won in 2020 for a reason, and the only district Biden won. But for some reason, Marionette Miller Meeks is just not a good candidate. Um, Congrats to her. But out of Iowa's third, it's a hot take, but I think that rural turnout will go down enough because the Iowa Republican coalition really isn't that strong. And I think because of that, you'll narrowly see Zach Nunn lose re-election. These two seats are safe. Um, Come on, Democrats! I've already given you enough by letting you take two seats out of Iowa. That's a bit much. That's pushing it. Um, yeah, Randy Feenstra running for governor. Could get an upgrade there in a primary. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though I think 1 and 2, whereas they're numbered, kind of have to pay attention to my mouse when I say, I think District 1. I don't mean the first district, but District 8 and District 1, could get narrow, especially Stauber's district if Republicans don't turn out in the Northeast, which isn't actually trending that Republican, even though very Iron Rangy type of area you would think that Trump would do better in, but he doesn't. Um, and then these seats safe, and then you have a powerhouse incumbent retiring. Still a pretty Democrat seat. I'm going to put as likely for now. Um, Here out of the Great Plains, pretty safe Republican seats. Don Bacon is retiring. Republicans have a good-ish income or good-ish Omaha City Council, I think, to put up in his wake. Um, I think it'll be closer than people expect. I still thought it would be closer than people expect when Don Bacon was announced, when people were like, I've had this seat as likely Democrat for 3 times in a row, but this time, says the Kara Eastman stan, this time I think it's going to flip Democrat, but I still do think it flips Democrat at the end of the day. Very left trending. Don Bacon, even himself, was eventually going to lose there. Safe Democrat there. And we move on to our second case of redistricting. Um, yeah, because I did Ohio and I did Texas. So we move on to our second case of redistricting, Texas. So obviously, at this point, no safe Republican seats will be endangered. I don't even think any will be under 10. Um, but yeah, 1, 2 should be safe. Even Texas 15th was a 14-point win. They can make it a little bit more Democrat, and De La Cruz will hold on no matter what. So, the seats that I don't think Republicans will trust will touch. El Paso, it will eventually get closer on the presidential level. I think that you'll even see El Paso County potentially flip. If Republicans have a good 2028, but I don't think they'll touch that seat. Like I said, I really don't see them touching the Dallas Fort Worth area. And then I think you kind of have to have 1 seat in Austin, 1 seat in San Antonio, and then 2 seats in Houston. Now, move on to these seats. Sylvia Garcia's seat. This is actually a very right trending district, very Hispanic part of Houston. Part of the reason why the county narrowed up and why Trump got kind of close to winning Harris County in 2024. Um, I think that if Garcia was going to retire, this would eventually be closer than people would really expect, maybe a 15-point win. But I think that this is going to be the seat they're most likely to axe, safe Republican. Here you have Sylvester Turner, which this will go to a special election, also November 4th, 2025. It's as if there's, big elections that day. But even if the special election could potentially get closed, you have 2 Republicans running, potentially locking Democrats out of a runoff. Even if you have a Republican incumbent somehow come into existence out of this seat, uh, I still think Republicans won't bother making a Republican. I think Democrats should hold on here. Though over here, Greg Kasar, very progressive, very much would delight Republicans get rid of him. Even myself, I make my partisan lean quite obvious in these videos, but I do think he gets the axe. Especially if Republicans are somehow going to get 5 to 6 seats out of Texas, he is going to be one of them. Same thing with Sylvia Garcia. So then we move on to South Texas, and Cuellar. I think he can put up a good fight with his back to the wall. I think he's facing criminal charges, yes. But I think that as of now, I still think he loses because I think that they're going to go brutal on him and draw him into these suburban areas around San Antonio. That's what I would do. But I think he has a potential to squeeze his way out of that if you include any of these Hispanic areas on the border in there. We head to Texas over here. Um, We go to Texas 28th. Um, you know, to be fair, Webb County, this is worse than Biden did. But places like Zapata, Starr, Jim Hogg, Duval, he overperformed by quite a bit. And if you're like, oh well, then we'll draw him solely into the San Antonio suburbs. He's just going to carpet bag to whatever district includes one, two, three counties. So I think it'll be hard to fully draw him out. If he retires, the seat is gone. But I think as of now, we'll probably end up losing. Same thing with Vicente Gonzalez out of Texas's 34th district. Um, a Trump seat. Myra Flores of all people um, did good here and nearly won. I think Republicans should be fine at beating him. Um, I really don't know why Myra Flores. She's carpetbagging over the 28th. She could win there, but she decides not to. Um, Proof that politicians are stupid. New Mexico 1-2 should be safe. One should be likely. This is the second one. This is the second district, potentially even New Mexico. This is a little sneak peek at future trends. You could see the third narrow if Fernandez retires, but I don't think she will, so that will stay as safe Democrat. For now, Colorado, you have one, two seats that are likely. Republicans got a nice break out of the eighth um, with a recent poll that showed you Drea Caravelle up over primary opponents. That's not good because she one blundered the seat somehow. I didn't consider the seat remotely on the radar in 2024. Um, Somehow she blundered it, and two, I want to be respectful about this. She is having some crises, um, personal crises. If you know, you know. Um, Suicide crisis. She's having that. She's not in the state to run a campaign. Um, like she would not be a good candidate if she made it to the general election. This is also a right trending seat, so assuming that she's a nominee, I think Republicans narrowly hold it. Same thing with the third. Um, Jeff Hurd is a very, very poor candidate. Um, an underperformer here. Frisch got a shit ton of money, yes, but like this is a Trump plus 12 seat. There's no excuse for this. This is a sleeper flip, which is hilarious because it's the second time in a row in midterms that it's a sleeper flip. But if Hurd continues to be a bad candidate, I don't think Frisch is going to run again. I don't think he's going to get nearly as much cash as he did in 2022 and 2024. But you could see it narrow up quite a bit and potentially be a Democrat flip. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 safe. Um, Move over to here, Wyoming, Montana. Democrats kind of want to target the first district out of Montana, where Ryan Zinke is. It's a bad idea. I still think it'll be under 5, but I don't think it'll be a particularly strong victory or strong performance for Democrats. Then we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then out of Utah. Like I said, court mandated redistricting. It seems like Republicans' backs are to the wall on this. They either axe Malloy or Owens. I think it's going to be Malloy. I'll show it as Owens. I think Owens moves over to this district, but it's just going to be like a circle around Salt Lake City. It's going to be like D plus 40. We're going to lose. I'm so sad. But yeah. Um, so that makes redistricting only net +4 for Republicans. Oh no. Out of Arizona, 1, 2 are safe Republican. 1, 2 are likely. I think they'll narrow up a little bit. Hamday, not a good candidate. Eli Crane, not a good candidate. Though really that seat, the story is Jonathan Nez is a phenomenal candidate. But Schweikert's seat, trending Republican. It's the Republican trending areas of Maricopa County. He's also a very strong incumbent, and Shaw is going to be the Democrat nominee again. He's not a good candidate. So I think because of that, you probably see Republicans hold on there. 1, 2 safe. Ciscomani seat, it's hard. Um, the problem for me with seeing him winning is one, Hobbs probably carries the seat no matter what. Like, even if she's losing by 4 somehow, she's going to win the seat. And two, he's not a strong candidate. Even if the Green voters broke for him, the fact that he only got 50%, he won by 2.5, when, like, the seat. If you told me Arizona was going to be R plus 6, the seat would not be on the radar for Democrats. Like, it was only on the radar for them when they thought that they were going to win the state at large. But I think Ciscomani probably ends up falling. 2026, they have a much better candidate than Kristen Angle. Um, and it's left trending. These Tucson suburbs are brutal for Republicans, and the rest of the district does not make up enough to overcome it. Um, yeah, I think Republicans are pretty cooked in the seat long term. And then here, Stanton seat probably likely could be closer than expected. Um, Usually is. People treat it as a safe Democrat seat. Even I've done that myself. It's not. It's like a Harris plus 6 seat. Um, One to potentially watch. Nevada, you could see some coattails from Lombardo help Republicans here. Um, I think Lombardo probably ends up winning in Nevada. Every one of these districts, I think Democrats overperform by enough to win most of them. Susie Lee's being the potentially close one. Um, this one could get close. I'll say lean as of now. The rest are likely. Um, End of story. Then California, we've heard some stuff about mid-decade redistricting to cancel the Texas one. If I really were going to consider that as a legitimate possibility, one, it wouldn't be this early. California has their primaries, I think, in midterms in like June. Um, the filing deadline for that probably like 2 months after Texas. You're gonna go like on a at least 6 months slower schedule than Texas. Like I just I don't think it's going to work out. And plus, California has an independent redistricting commission. But if they do it, one, California is so brutally gerrymandered, it's pretty impossible to gerrymander more. Like Texas is gerrymandered for a state that you think will be R plus 5. California is gerrymandered as if it's D plus 40. Um, so I really don't think that you can make it much better for California Democrats. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be safe Republican. Um, Kevin Kiley should probably win by a likely margin. It's like a Trump plus 4 seat could be a little bit closer than expected. Same thing with Valadeo. I think he should hold on. Um, Not too easily, but he still should be able to win re-election out of there. Out of here, Young Kim. She's not going to win by too much, but she probably will still win. Um, at the end of the day, we have a bunch more Democrat seats to do. Weird that I'm doing this right when Republicans are on the cusp of taking the House. Um, Here, these seats are pretty safe Democrat. Um, as for the likely Democrat seats, 1, 2, um, 3, 4, 5. I think that you'll see a little bit more of a bluer environment in California, even than 2024, which is impressive because Democrats in California had a good run, uh, taking down 1, 2, 3 incumbents in California. But I think in some places you'll see it be a bit bluer, which is why I think that um, Derek Tran will win by like 2 to 3, and I think that Calvert goes down this cycle. Um, but I will say Republicans have a much better recruit in John Duarte. To put it in perspective, this district voted against gay marriage. Yeah, there's a gay marriage ballot initiative at the same time as this. This district voted against it. I think that Gray is a good candidate. I think this will be close, but I think it'll be the majority maker, and Republicans will end up winning it. Then out of Oregon, 1, 2, 3, um, will end up going Republican. I think you could potentially see here uh, Oregon's fifth be under 5 on a good night for Republicans. I just don't see it as of now. And then out of Washington, you really only have one MGP's district. Democrats could potentially primary her. I don't think they do. I think she wins by like 8. Um, then Hawaii ends up going Democrat, and Republicans win Alaska 222 to 213. It's inevitable. But yeah, this is big. This is the first time that I have Republicans winning the House. And even though Democrats would make some gains without the districts, 1, 2, um, 3, 4 alone makes it 218 to 217. If you include these two Hispanic seats, Democrats win the House. But Republicans are playing it smart with some redistricting. And the main thing is, I think this screwed over Democrats. The fact that at this point, Democrats, they're really not appealing to independents. I think the Democratic Party, even though it is already extreme objectively, um, they've leaned more into that extremism, and I think it's going to screw them over. If you're saying like, "Oh, this map is unfair," uh, where are like besides for these tilt Republican seats, which yes, I get, I have a lot of tilt Republican seats. Um, That's mostly because I'm being unfair to Republicans. Um, a seat like Bresnahan's seat probably should be lean Republican. I'll put it as lean Republican as for now. Um, a seat like Jeff Hurd's seat should be lean Republican. Um, Even Barrett's seat should be lean Republican. Seats like that should be lean Republican. I'm even perhaps being generous to Democrats. Seats like Iowa's second or Iowa's third district, Wisconsin's third district. Ken Calvert, I just have a gut feeling he's going to lose because he is a massive underperformer. Um, in a seat that really isn't trending that Republican. But you could argue that this map is favorable to Democrats, which is insane. A net gain for Republicans in midterm is favorable for Democrats. But this is the problem. Democrats have $10 million, Republicans have $1 billion. Um, it's a little bit of a difference. And like it, it's not an easy path. Um, the 2010s, you know, every seat was potentially competitive, or not every seat, but like Obama plus 15 seats were being flipped like regularly in 2010. Um, you just don't see that this time around. And even though, this is the exact same margin as Republicans got in the House in 2022, one, redistricting is more favorable for them than 2022. Um, places where Democrats redistricted, like New York, these gerrymanders are falling apart for them. Um, so that's one thing to consider. And two, like, you're just seeing a lot of Republican trends in correct districts, even though, like, a lot of Republican trends aren't. This is part of the reason why their coalition was so inefficient in 2024. Like, Nellie Powell's seat potentially could even flip Republican. That's a trend that's completely wasted. That shifted like 6, 7 points Republicans since 2022. That's completely wasted. Same thing with Long Island. Um, you look at the top ticket; these areas trended pretty Republican, um, but it didn't contribute at all to Republican seats on the House level. Um, and in this prediction, at least, they do. Looking for other examples. North Carolina. Republicans shifted North Carolina's first, quite Republican, from 2022 or 2020. It just wasn't enough to flip the seat. It didn't add a point to their scoreboard here. Um, this time it does. And, you could credit Republicans flipping the House or holding the House here with Texas. And I think there's an argument to be made. Like, yeah, um, if this mid-decade redistricting goes through, and if it's even more brutal than I anticipate, 1, 2 could potentially be on the chopping block. Texas is the hero of the GOP in the midterm. Um, but like that's also because of those trends that I said did not um, result in any House seats flipping in 2024, but do in 2026. The fact that Texas shifted 10 or so points Republican didn't net gain them any House seats. In 2022 or 2024. Um, Republicans screwed themselves over in Texas. This was made to protect incumbents in seats that would have been like Trump plus 10 this time around. Like Beth Van Duyne, um, Craig Goldman, Keith Self. You did not need to be worried about these incumbents. Like people like Pete Sessions, um, Chip Roy. Like they ran in competitive districts in 2020 and they were redistricted in the safe districts. But had that old 2020 map been in place for 2024, Republicans would have done better. They probably would have even flipped some seats in Houston and in the Dallas Fort Worth metropolitan area, and definitely in these Rio Grande Valley seats. Um, the 34th was drawn as a pack originally for Democrats to make it so that the 15th could flip Republican. Had they been their old configuration from 2020, the one where Meyer Flores won a special election in 2022, Republicans could have potentially picked off every seat in the Rio Grande Valley um, in 2022 and 2024. But, anyways, it's early. It's July, and if Democrats end up winning the House and winning it by such a massive margin, it shocks me. Consider this like a warning. That House control isn't guaranteed for Democrats, and as of now, I would pin Republicans as the favorites for it. I'm surprised by the margin. I did not think it would be a 222 to 213 margin. Thought it'd be narrower, but like since the last prediction, Democrats have just had a lot of bad stuff happen to them. The fact that Sandy Robertson raised like $2 million in quarter 2. The fact that Texas is redistricting now. The fact that now New York potentially could have screwed over Democrats. A lot has happened um, since my last prediction May. But anyways, thank you for watching. It's fun to do another house prediction again. I haven't done one in a while. Um, yeah. Thank you for watching. Godspeed. Tester's done out. And if my voice has been a little bit hoarse, you know, give it a day or so. It should be recovered soon. But I figured I'd upload this anyway.